on to our boy, Master of the Seven Seas, Aquaman. I'll go first on this one, and I'll be really, really frank here. As I was pondering this, I came up with what I thought was a really original idea. And I thought, well, actually, no, this isn't original. I'm coming up with the plot for Namor in Black Panther 2. And here's what I mean. Okay, Aquaman, in my opinion, what I would love to have change about him, I love that he can operate on land. Great, because if you just limit him to the water, and let's say he came out of the water and he's on land and he's super powered down or neutered, it's like he becomes just a really difficult character to fit in. Like you can only interact with him when he's in the ocean. What I would really prefer, though, is when you get in the water, he is juiced up. Like there should be no other being that is near his level in the ocean. And something that, was it the movies or no, it was one of the comics, Aquaman comics that I read spoke to is like, think about the amount of dexterity that it takes to be thousands, miles, not thousands of feet, but miles beneath the ocean surface. The amount of physical pressure that creates is wild. And so think of how just stacked you'd have to be to stand up to that physical pressure. That should either enhance Aquaman's strengths or significantly reduce the abilities of anybody else that comes down into that kind of territory. And I wish that would get leaned into more. So not to the point where Aquaman is entirely overpowered in the ocean, but it should be his dang domain where it's like, this is his realm and it is like, woe be to the sad sack and sad soul that tries to encounter and challenge Aquaman on his prime turf. And this is something that, as I was thinking through it again, I'm like, oh gosh, they really did this with Black Panther 2 and Namor. I actually enjoy and respect that element of how they approached it with Namor and Black Panther 2 that much more. I thought they got that absolutely right. They crushed that.
Yeah.
So that's my take.
It reminds me a lot of Dragon Ball. Mm-hmm. So they'll have these training parts where they're in gravity chambers.
Yep.
And essentially they just increase the gravity. And then they do the same things that they would normally do, but in like 12 times gravity. And at first they're like dying. But that's essentially what it is, right? Because the dense pressure and the whole, we'd assume that he would be gigantic.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm with it.
Yeah. So there you go. That's my take on one thing I would change on Aquaman.
Yeah. So mine is more of a simpler take.
Simple is good.
And it'll give you reminders of my Martian Manhunter take. Can we give Aquaman cooler villains?
Oh, man.
If you Google Aquaman villains right now and you go to the Marvel Wiki, do you know what pops up, Jordan? Two people pop up. Black Manta.
Yeah, Black Manta.
Ocean Master.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And by the way, great villains.
They are.
I'm not going to take away from it. I love them both in the Aquaman movies. They do a great job.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just a very small rogues gallery.
The rest? Oh my God. Do you know that one of them that's highlighted is the Drowned? The Batman, the evil Batman version of Aquaman, who's Aquawoman at this point in time.
Right. Yeah.
That's one of the 5. Okay, if you look at the rest of them, they look like cheesy swamp monsters from the 1940s. They look like, have you ever seen Captain Cutler's Ghost from Scooby-Doo?
Oh my gosh.
That's what one of them looks like. Oh, I know my Scooby-Doo villains. That's what one of them looks like. And then they gave King Shark as another one. I was like, doesn't King Shark kind of just roam around a little bit? You have this entire, and this is what they built up in the Aquaman movies. You have 7 kingdoms. You're telling me they all get along? This should be Lord of the Rings of DC. Okay, I've talked about how Thor should be Lord of the Rings of Marvel, where the fantasy and stuff, do that underwater. A, you have now separated Aquaman from Namor. Those two will never be the same. B, Aquaman becomes 10 times cooler than Namor. Okay, because Namor rules the sea, sure, but Aquaman had to conquer 7 freaking kingdoms to just rule.
Right. Think about the lore that could be uncovered there.
Right? Because I'm so tired of I worry about Atlantis and that's it. It's like, okay, yeah, cool. All right, and then cut his hand off again real quick. Just do that again. He's so much more badass with a hook for a hand. I'm serious. He's so much more badass with it. Okay, so hook for a hand on the left side, and then give him some actually damn good villains.
Mhm.
Build up these 7 kingdoms, and one of them can look like an octopus. I don't care, but at least do something with it.
Correct.
Because
there's too much untapped.
They are so corny.
Yeah.
The other ones that aren't, and don't get me wrong, old school Black Mana, kind of corny too.
Oh, absolutely.
They somehow managed to turn that thing around. So you could do that. There are other ways to do that.
Yep.
What they're doing right now ain't it.
No.
You wanna get the people that don't like Aquaman off your backs, DC? Good villains.
Mm-hmm.
Because that is what he lacks.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's great. I love that.
That is mine.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's no question that is a significantly missed element. Even like Aquaman at his best. So the New 52 run of Aquaman written by Jeff Johns, it really had Black Manta and Ocean Master as the villains. Like Jeff Johns wasn't really able to drum up another villain per se. Like there was the Trench, which you saw a little bit of in the Aquaman movie, but again, that's just more of a collective, mass of beings, and that's the villain. It's not an individual with their own motives and so on and so forth. It's just very limited. It's a very limited scope. And to your point, I love this. There's no reason for it to be that limited. The oceans cover so much more space than do all the land. And as soon as you say there's 7 kingdoms, there are so many natural opportunities for rivalries. I mean, just think about the surface world. There are 7 earthly continents, and they don't get along. They just don't. That's not their natural state of being. So you're telling me that we can't come up with something similar underwater? Sure we can. Just got to make the effort.
Yeah. So
I love that.
Yes, that's where I'm at with that.